All right. So, welcome to Simper Sometimes with Benny. Mac, thank you for coming on. It's short notice. Yesterday, I just hit you up and was like, "Hey, man, are you available tomorrow?" And you were like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." So, thanks for joining us on Simper Sometimes, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, for those of us who don't know who you are, who is Mac? What is Leatherneck for Life? Who is Mac, and what did you create, and why did you create it?
All right. So I was in the Marine Corps, Sergeant 0331, deployed to Iraq in '04. Got out and let's see, I'm trying to think of timeline wise. About 5 years ago, was doing some kind of like video production marketing work for a charity called Building Dreams for Marines here in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was at one of the board meetings for that charity, I met the two owners of Leatherneck for Life, and they were selling apparel, Marine Corps licensed apparel, and they were looking to help fund this Marine Corps charity program that builds or kind of outfits Marines' homes with disabilities to be handicap accessible. So this Leatherneck for Life apparel company wanted to help support this charity. And so we sat through the board meeting, and I talked about all the different ways that I could help this charity through marketing and video production. And then the other two owners of Leatherneck for Life said, "Hey, liked what you had to say. Would you be interested in helping our company?" And so I worked with them for a few months, helping with social media and stuff like that. And then they offered me a part ownership of the company, to kind of just come on and be a part of the company, because they liked what they saw, and they didn't really want to be on the social media side of things. They wanted to be in the production and apparel side. So works out well. And yeah, so I've been with them for about 5 years, and the company's growing and making shirts like this.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the whole marketing thing and stuff like that after you how did the Marine Corps transition to you into that? Like how did you find yourself in that part of the world?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious transition to go from machine gunner to video production. I don't know if I really have to connect the dots for you, but um, no, my dad was in production, all growing up through my childhood. My dad was into different forms of marketing, and he worked as a freelance video engineer for ESPN. And so when I got out of the Marine Corps, he had kind of helped me explore some opportunities on that side. And I've always been kind of creative. I like to draw and I like to produce and shoot videos and stuff like that. And I've always been into movies and how they're made. So getting behind a camera and the technical side of all that worked was really interesting to me. So when I had the opportunity to kind of do some work with ESPN, I jumped on it. And so I still do that. The way the video production sports broadcast industry works is most technicians are freelancers. We're all kind of in a pool of guys, and we all just kind of jump around and do different events across the U.S. and, well, the world actually. And so I still do that. I still work for ESPN as well.
Oh wow. So how did you find yourself joining the Marine Corps? Like with you talking about your father doing broadcasting and stuff like that, I'm assuming was your father in the military, or were
No,
you were
so I
you
had
the type of
uncles,
person
both my
okay.
grandparents, both my grandfathers, Navy and Air Force. I had several uncles that were Navy and Marine Corps.
Okay.
So I had exposure to it, but I didn't have any intention of like right out of high school being like, I want to be in the Marine Corps. That was never a thing.
Okay.
In fact, we had a couple, I wasn't a bully in high school, but I definitely teased people. And I remember there was two kids in high school they always had like bald shaved heads, and they always wore like camouflage pants, and we'd call them G.I. Joe and make fun of them. So my joining the military was never a thought for me, but due to my dad's kind of work, he moved, and we lived in a new city, and I was just graduated out of high school. I didn't have any friends in this new city, and I changed jobs, and I was sitting in the mall, lost, contemplating life, wondering what the hell I was going to do with the rest of my life. And a Marine recruiter walked in wearing dress blues, and that was it didn't take much, really.
So did he approach you, or did you approach him?
He approached me. He kind of threw out the question, like the question I was already subconsciously thinking, what am I doing with my life? He kind of asked. He's like, "Yeah, what are you doing with your life?"
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, I couldn't tell you. I thought I knew, but then when my family moved, it kind of. I mean, I was only 18, so it's not like I had huge plans for my life. But
Yeah.
the job that I had at the time was pretty decent, and I had a lot of friends where I grew up, and I kind of at least figured I would just continue doing what I was doing. But then when it all kind of changed for me, it left me kind of lost. So, and the recruiter presented the challenge. He had me come out and do the initial strength test and ask me some questions, and I was never super athletic, so I didn't like excel by any means. And he kind of was like, "Yeah, I don't know if the Marine Corps is really for you." And then as soon as he kind of like dangled that out there, like maybe I couldn't do it. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna show this bastard." Like,
Nice.
so yeah, so I went hard and joined.
So how was your time in the Marine Corps? Did you enjoy it? I would hope with you working for a company named Leatherneck for Life, and with you wearing Marine Corps apparel, that the fact is you enjoyed it. But then we have those people who say they hated it for 4 years straight. Then as soon as they EAS, they now become the most motivated people in the world. So which one of
Yeah,
the two were you?
I would say I'm somewhere in the middle of that. I was never a stellar Marine by any means. I was rifle expert and first class PFT, not every single time, but I joined in '99, and then when 2000 September 11th happened in 2001, um, I was I've always been like enjoy humor, so I gravitated towards the Marines who were quote unquote shitbirds. Not because they weren't good Marines, but because we didn't really take the Marine Corps authority concept
Yeah.
as seriously as many people did. When
Yeah.
some kid who was 2 years older than me was like acting like he was God's gift to Earth and screaming at me about,
Yeah.
making sure that my face was shaved properly. I just found all that stuff humorous. I was like,
Yeah.
what does this actually have to do with combat? I was like, if you give me a rifle, I'm going to be as proficient as possible with this rifle. Like I was a machine gunner, and I loved the 50 cal, the 240 golf, the Mark 19. Like belt-fed weapons were my jam. Like no pun intended, but
Yeah.
that was I love that part. Driving around Camp Pendleton, flying around in helicopters, shooting thousands and thousands of rounds. I loved all of that. I loved being in the field. Garrison wasn't so much of a, making sure that all my camis and everything were. I was in the generation where we still had iron camis.
Yeah.
We were woodlands,
Wow.
spit shine boots, stuff like that. I saw the value in how the discipline side of the Marine Corps was, of the strictness. I got all that. But I didn't take it super seriously. I didn't picture myself to be the next Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps by any means. And then we went to combat. I was deployed to Iraq in '04. And then, I got wounded in '04, roadside bomb, suicide bomber detonated, blew up our Humvee. And thankfully in that instance, no Marines died, but several of us got wounded. And, so that was a pretty raw experience. And then when I got out, I was proud of being a Marine. I think the Marine Corps, in general, most Marines like to tout the fact that we're the best or the hardest branch, or, all the typical jargon that we like to throw out. I thought that was funny, but I never really I'm not like that. Some of those cats you see where they're truly believe because they went through Marine Corps boot camp. They're somehow better than anyone else. I like to
Yeah.
rip on other branches, but because I think it's funny, not because I truly believe that I have any kind of superiority over anyone. So when I got out, I wasn't super oorah by any means. I actually didn't own a ton of Marine Corps shirts or hats or anything like that. I had a sticker on the back of my truck. I obviously had my Purple Heart license plate on the truck because that gets you out of tickets. But when I started working with Leatherneck4Life, now I've got a closet full of every shirt that we make. So I wear them more out of, hey, more free shirts.
Yeah.
I'll wear it.
Awesome.
So I'm probably more moto by default than the average guy, but just because that's what my closet is full of. Because I mean, to be honest, we make pretty cool stuff, and the quality is good quality. Like, this is a really nice soft sweatshirt. It's my favorite sweatshirt. I love the OD color. And so I wear them when we got these hats or good quality stitching and stuff. So I wear our stuff because I like it. But I'm not like, you know what? I'm going to get out there and represent the Marine Corps for the 365th day this year. You know what I mean?
No, I get it, man. It's funny talking about your Purple Heart on the car, on the license plate. So a buddy of mine, his name is Saeed.
Yep.
And it's spelt Sayed.
Okay.
And he has a Purple Heart, and on his lifted pickup truck, his license plate is bulletproof.
Nice.
And he has his Purple Heart license plate.
Yeah, mine says Mark 19. Because that was the gun that I had when I was deployed. So.
Damn. So for people who don't know, like, how was that experience being deployed in Iraq in the height of the war in 2004? Like, what was that experience like? Because, like, I know, like, for my experience in Afghanistan, I was there in 2011, so, like, it wasn't the height of the war. Yeah, IEDs were still going off. Yeah, there was stuff going on. But, like, being honest, like, yeah, we took pop shots. Yeah, we had some firefights, but, like, we weren't in the shit every single day. It wasn't like it was in 2004. So, like, what was the mentality that you had as an infantryman on the ground doing your job day to day? Like, how was that mentality?
Well, I mean, we're all young kids. So, and this is the first time we'd ever been outside of the U.S. Well, I mean, I'd been outside the U.S., but never in a true combat zone, like condition one, driving out, like legit locked and loaded everywhere you go, always. So that was surreal. So, and the other thing too is the Marine Corps is just so interesting. I look back and like the flow of information it's just, there's a lot of things if I could change about the Marine Corps, I would. And I think every Marine would probably say that based on their own experiences. But so when we landed, we took a C-130 from Kuwait and we landed at Biop. And no one explained to us what that fob and transition and how we were going to land and what that would look like. We just wasn't explained to us well.
Yeah.
So I'm picturing, the back of this C-130 opens up and it's going to be like the scene from fucking Saving Private Ryan, and there's going to be bullets flying in the back of this thing. We're going to have to jump out, roll on the deck, and take cover and start shooting back immediately. I have no idea. They didn't say like, we're landing in the green zone. You're going to like get out of this thing slowly, chill. You're going to go sleep in a tent for 2 weeks and eat at this badass chow hall. And, then you're going to be bored out of your mind for 2 weeks. And then finally some Humvees are going to show up, and then you're going to drive an hour south and actually set up your fob and then start conducting. So it was like you had to kind of on the fly just adapt constantly because you had no idea. No one was really explaining to you what it was going to be next. And so, you get this heightened anticipation basically of like what combat is going to be. And then you are like, oh, well, it's not that. And then it's really hard not to become complacent. Because you go through these long periods of time of just boredom, and you're like, well, this isn't really that much different than being on Camp Pendleton. I just happen to have actual Mark 19 rounds loaded up right now. And it's not like, when you see, old war movies where you're like, all right, the Germans are on the other side of that field, and as soon as you see one, you shoot them, and you know what they look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're driving in a a shithole village, and everyone looks the same. And the weird thing too about Iraq is like you're so young, and you're kind of almost conditioned to not like those people
Yeah.
because you're going there and you feel like those people, all of those people as a group are the
Yeah.
reason why you're there. And all of those people as a group have something to do with September 11th.
Yeah.
And so I just remember looking back now as a grown man with a family and kids, and you see those people as people with families and kids. They just happen to live in a different part of the planet. But I do give a lot of credit to our battalion commander. He kind of tried to instill this idea of sturdy professionalism with us, where we didn't go there to be thugs or cause collateral damage or leave that country worse than when we showed up. He was very adamant about we're more violent and effective and better trained, and if it comes to a firefight, we will win, but we're not over there to just start lighting everybody up either or hate people. Like we weren't rude, we weren't mean. We tried our best to be polite and kind, and I learned very quickly. I had younger brothers that were, at the time I was 18 years older than my youngest brother.
Oh, wow.
So the kids that were running around in the streets to me were similar ages to my younger brothers.
Yeah.
And so when we started getting extra care packages and having all this excess, people were so willing to give and send us stuff. It was overwhelming. We would take all the excess stuff and we'd load it up in boxes and bring it out into the town. And, we'd stop, and we used it as a way to get to know the locals. So we'd give them shampoo. I remember, if you had a pair of tennis shoes or a soccer ball and you gave it to the kids, it was like, you might as well give them $1,000,000. Like it was the craziest, best thing you could have ever given someone. And when you did that to the kids, then the parents of the kids would come and they would, talk with us, and they'd give us information and intel, and we used it. And they actually were able to provide a lot of actionable intel just by being kind to them. So that was pretty cool. Everything all good?
Sorry about that. My dad called me and it interrupted. So
Oh, no worries.
my apologies.
Say hi to Pops for me. So yeah, that was like the posture, I guess we kind of had to roll with the punches and see what happened. And then when things started getting hot, when we actually started losing Marines to, we had a lot of indirect fire, we had a lot of roadside bombs, mortars. We had a couple of rockets fly right into our base, hit the Connex box where we kept a lot of our ammo. And then we started, we had a boomerang system, so we could kind of figure out where it was coming from. And then they were like, all right, QRF, like go out there and find these guys. And I remember that was when shit started getting real, is when we became more than just driving around waiting to have something happen to us, when it became, now you have an actual house that you need to go kick the door down and go roll these guys up. And if they give you any lip whatsoever, that's why you have bullets in your gun. So that was interesting to see that transition. Oh, I think I lost you again. Y'all good?
I cannot hear you. Yo, my bad, man. I am so sorry.
All good?
You can you talk?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I don't know what the hell's going on. I hear you like slow mode in my ear. You're like,
Do you want me to try to start over, leave and come back, or?
yeah, I hear. Let me. I don't know what the hell happened. This is weird.